Thank you, Madam Speaker. Allow me to first start by congratulating you for being elected as the Deputy Speaker of this august House. I also want to congratulate our Speaker, Honorable Moses Wetangula, for being elected, and to congratulate every member of Parliament that made it back. It is said that we had the highest number of returns in Parliament, so I want to congratulate all the members. And I also want to congratulate my worthy opponent, Millicent Omanga. We had an amazing campaign together. We did not tread on each other's toes, and she accepted and conceded defeat, and at the same time congratulated me. I think that's the kind of politics that we want. While I stand here, I want to congratulate also the country. Kenya as a country has actually come and grown in democracy. We have had a peaceful election. There are lots of people that were hurt by this election, over 7 million people. But I want to say that we stood for the democracy, and that democracy is the respect that we all have. The people that supported Raila Odinga and the Azimio fraternity, the respect that we have for democracy, and I want to congratulate Kenyans for that peaceful election. We're a model for the entire world. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the Nairobi voters, those who voted for me, those who didn't vote for me, and those who didn't show up to vote. I want to say that we understand that there might have been a lot of voter apathy, and that is something that we as leaders will strive to work for, to strive to make you understand that voting is an important exercise. 8 million people did not show up to vote, and that should be a concern to every elected leader. Now we are here to discuss the presidential debate. What I would like to say is, while we're looking at the presidential debate, the one thing, sorry, not the presidential debate, the presidential speech, I would like to first congratulate the President for being sworn in as the President of this country. And while I looked at the speech and I heard the speech, Madam Speaker, the one thing that I say is that this country, after an election, we try to come together. And today, as we sit here and we discuss the presidential speech, I want to say that the President talked about and touched on a number of issues. For me, it's not about whether it was a long speech or a short speech. What I took back, continue the programs that they had in the 12th Parliament. The programs like housing, the problems like food for security, infrastructure, and I believe that that kind of continuity is important. As a woman representative, when I came into office, I found projects that my predecessor had done but not completed, and I continued with them. So that is very important. We recently accompanied the President as he was launching a housing project. So that is a project that started in the last administration where he was the Deputy President, and it's a project that he wants to continue. I like the fact that he actually spoke to the fact that the rental income will be low and that the people will be able to afford the houses. Nairobi has got a slum in every corner. The people of Nairobi want better housing. That was part of the agenda, the 4 agendas of the government, and I believe that continuity of programs that are good will be very favorable for this country. The area that I have a problem when it comes to food security is our rush for GMOs. I believe that the whole world, if you go to Europe right now, the most priciest commodities are commodities that are organic. So when we start thinking of GMOs, I believe that we should start trading slowly. Much as we want to feed our people, we have to make sure that we understand that as a country, we want to be also able to not just feed ourselves, but to export our products. We have to think twice, and we have to educate the people, because with the rise in cancers, if we rush to GMOs, we might end up also having a situation where we're increasing our medical costs, and we also have UHC as a big program for this country. Madam Speaker, when I think of the idea of saving, I saw that the President talked about the fact that when you retire, your NSSF contributions will not be sufficient for you to retire at the rate of 200 shillings. He talked about 2 shillings and then 1 shilling coming from the state. That is very good. But at the same time, what we have to realize that if we don't handle the big elephant in the room, which is corruption, then we will be faced with a situation where people are saving and the money is being siphoned out and stolen and not invested. When you have housing, I believe that when we save for retirement, one of the things that we should offer our citizens is affordable housing. We see a lot of citizens that have worked very hard and they can hardly live on the retirement benefit that they get from the government. When it comes to the borrowings that we have in this country, the President touched on reducing the budget by over 300 billion and ensuring that our debt repayment, the excess that we have to borrow every year of 900 billion is reduced by 300 billion. That is a good initiative, but then we have to ask ourselves, where are we going to find this money? For me, I believe that this country loses so much more than the 300 billion to corruption. So while we're strengthening our institutions, like we're strengthening the judiciary, we're strengthening the police, we're giving them budgets so that they can sustain themselves, we've got to want to deal with corruption. An area that I had hoped that the President would have looked into is for investment and investor confidence. This country right now makes it very difficult for people to actually invest and bring money into the country. You have a situation where if you want to deposit any money, the maximum that you're allowed to deposit is $10,000. A lot of Kenyans have got money outside of this country, and they cannot come and bring this money into the country, which we desperately need. I believe that we should allow some kind of amnesty to bring in the money and remove that obstacle where you have to deposit only 10,000 and provide sufficient documentation for it. The problem is that is stifling a lot of people coming into this country to make investments. I believe that not every money that comes into this country, over $10,000, could be stolen money, but we're making it very difficult for people to actually come into this country to invest because of the red tape that we have. Kenya as a country, I want to say that we are blessed, but we have a situation right now which is drought. And drought and the interventions that we need from the government. I mean, it is sad to see that right now, Kenyans, in so many parts of this country, children are dying from malnutrition. Children are dying because their parents cannot afford to give them healthy, nutritious food. And people are dying because there is actually no food in the country. So while we talk about the fact that this country does not have enough food, I think the most important thing that we have to address as a country is also family planning. At the moment, we do not have enough family planning in this country. We do not buy commodities. Family planning is dependent on donors. Every country has to plan its population. And in Kenya, we have failed to plan our population. In the 1960s, when Tom Mboya was asked by the BBC, what are your programs for your country? The first thing he said was we have to look at our population, because for us to grow our economy, we have to make sure that we also manage our population. It is really, really sad to see a number of women having children, not because they want children, but because they did not have access to the information on family planning, they did not have access to the commodities. And then these women have children, and then they're condemned to abject poverty. So for me, I know that we say we're a Christian country, but I want you to understand that even God himself was a family planner because he believes in family planning. And in the cycle of a woman, there is a period where a woman cannot have a child. So for me, I think as a country, we need to plan our population so that we can actually look after our environment and also protect the citizens of this country to be able to prosper. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the presidential address.
Thank you. Member for Kandara.